I was like 31 or something when we bought this farm, and of course we were, broke. We had to go somewhere where land was affordable, so out in the rural areas, and then we used a FSA loan to actually purchase it. 33 acres, but about 15 of it's in woods. So, we just kind of been developing slowly, and I'm to the point now where I'm ready to start throwing some fences up in the woods and then turning my goats back up into there. When I was undergrad, I was able to work for Barbara Kingsolver and Stephen Hopp. So I worked for them during kind of like, if you're familiar with the book Animal, Vegetable, Miracle. Okay. Right after that had been released. And they were starting like a farm-to-table restaurant. And then I was working on their farm, was like that time they were doing the Icelandic sheep, some chickens, turkeys, and then we were growing lots of vegetables, for that restaurant that they were starting. And it's a good experience and kind of opened my mind to like the local food scene. And I drink all that Kool-Aid and been stuck in for since. And then, I was into Zambia for Peace Corps, and I was doing mostly like agroforestry, their row crops kind of stuff, a little bit of goat stuff, but mostly like corn and soybeans and sunflowers. And then we would do tomatoes in the dry season. Just been books and, reading online, and can't say I YouTube goats too much, but when we were thinking about getting into it, we went to 2 goat dairies in Vermont of different scales and just saw what their process was like and talked to them and stuff like that. It was probably the most helpful. Yeah, we've been on the farm 6 years. We started mostly just with wool sheep. Had no intentions of getting into goats and milking goats. Kind of fell into it by accident. There's somebody down in near Boone, North Carolina, had an Anatolian shepherd dog we wanted to breed to our Pyrenees. Went down there to pick him up, and they, guardian dogs aren't the cheapest. So they cut a deal and said, I'll give you the dog for $100, which is a steal.
Yeah.
If you take these 3 goats, and it was a buck and 2 does. We didn't know anything about goats. Then got to figuring out, these are alpines. The buck at the time was a boar, and he'd already bred them, so we didn't want to process them, being pregnant. So we had the kids, and then we were saw how big the udders were, and alpines are known for good milk quality and production, so we decided to start milking them, and then threw that to anybody interested in goat milk, and then there's a lot of interest. And so now we went from having 25 sheep and 2 goats to now we have 25 goats and 4 sheep.
How often do you milk?
Once a day, every day. Used to do it twice a day, morning and evening on a 12-hour shift.
Okay, and why was the shift back to 1 time a day?
Well, because we couldn't do anything, couldn't be social, couldn't go anywhere. We'd be out somewhere and be like, it's almost 6, we gotta run and get back home. So we milk the goats and keep the production up and all that. And I guess we were newbies and trying to do everything perfect, right? Before you can learn a little bit more what's going on and have a little bit more of a flow. We found out also that we produced better, part of our stuff is meat goats too. So the longer we can keep the wethers on their moms, we found out the faster we can finish them. So it's a better goat, meat-wise. So that's kind of how we justified it, I guess. And not having to milk.
So that's another lesson learned.
Clean them up. And then I like to give them a little moisturizer. Keep their teeth nice and unchapped. The babies are pretty rough on them, and then, sometimes we'll move them out to a lot of real brambly stuff to eat, because that's what they like, so they get scratched up and so good to keep them moist. And this is just stripping, so we're able to just inspect the milk. So does it look like good milk? They have a good smell, no problems going on. So this is a bucket milker. I milked by hand for a number of years, and then just realized how much time I could save using a bucket milker. So I can milk 2 goats at once, and the milker does it for me. So we started with just a chev and a paneer, and then she kind of taught herself feta as the years went on. A couple of years later, she kind of taught herself feta, and I think she's gotten pretty good at it by now. The first couple of years there's a lot of different factors on like the temperature in the house, the temperature outside, maybe, what the goat's forage is, how much fat, butter fat is in it. It really affects, the size of the holes in the feta cheese. The feta is probably the best product that we make. You store it in a salt brine, and we're able to keep feta like year round.
Is that right?
Yeah, through the winter, it'll keep it refrigerated in that salt brine. We have a big mixed breed, so we primarily are 3 breeds of Alpine, La Mancha, and Nubian.
Yeah.
We have a really nice New River Valley Sheep and Goat Club, and they have a really nice listserv on their website, and then every month they send out like a newsletter, and then you can send in what you have for sale. So I sell a lot of like bred does. So yeah, we're meat and milk, and then seed stock. Yeah, 3 things that we're making money on.
How many are in your CFA, and how many herd shares?
Not many. We just do about 10 families is what we're doing this year. Some people do like the whole full diet thing, which gives you like dairy, eggs, and meat, and vegetables. Some people just do the dairy, and then some people just do only meat. That they'll just do like a once a month meat pickup. So yeah, we're running chickens in orchards, and I've got some trees planted in the pasture, and doing like, I have pawpaws and plums and kind of like native fruit producing trees in our riparian zone, elderberries. Yeah, so we've tried to do a little silvopasture stuff here with this honey locust, and I think we have some tulip poplar planted, but it's a little harder on the goat side. My grandparents were huge, putting up your own food, like canning green beans. That was like, I think, the basis of like, oh man, that's just a great green bean. And we ate a lot of beans, and we grew all those beans. And when they passed on and we kind of left from that, I could really start seeing the difference, and I was pretty lucky to be raised like that. And I was inspired by the Zambians, by just their dedication and their hard work. Here, we can try to put out a garden or something, and if it fails, oh well, we'll just go to the grocery store. But like out there, it's like if it fails, you might not be feeding your family, through the winter. Just how important it is. I've been able to meet this fella named Dr. Alan Williams. Yeah, he inspires me a lot, just on the things that he's done and what he's figuring out, and the advice he gives me. And I'm just inspired also by like the community too, in the Roanoke, Blacksburg area, and the small farmers that are here, and everyone trying to make it a go from that we get to work with in this Roanoke Food Shed network thing that we're a part of. It all kind of just feeds off of each other, It's really great to have Luke too, and we, on days when we don't have to work so much, we'll really take our time with the chores and try to engage him with the farm as much as possible. And he really loves animals. He loves chickens, bucks. If you're going to work with nature and the ecosystem is very dynamic. And so in order to complement that, you need a dynamic system on top of it. So kind of what I look at is like, how's the ecosystem functioning? How can we add agriculture into that? And the agriculture benefit from the ecosystem services that we're creating through agroforestry, through, pasture rotation, through chicken, pastured poultry, through no-till, agriculture, and their no-till garden kind of concept. How are we, building the soil, because it's going to be the basis of everything that, thrives after that. So when we can focus on the soil through the ag kind of production model, then I think we're increasing the biodiversity within our, our say Singing Spring Farms ecosystem, which is kind of increasing the overall health of the piece of land that we're on. Now that I'm like more into like the I guess what we're calling it now is regenerative agriculture. I think it was holistic at one point, and then something else.
Beyond sustainable.
Sustainable. I mean, I don't know what kind of words, but right now I think it's called regenerative. And within that network, I'm finding that, people are way more willing to engage and tell you about their operation, tell you what they're doing. And, it's really that's kind of how that movement is growing. I feel is it's growing more by farmer, you know, peer-to-peer, and less by like kind of the traditional ways that we've been working through, like university and extension and stuff like that.
We set up these silage tarps, pretty simple. We rest one garden each year. So this year we're resting this garden except for beans and strawberries that are up top. And in the winter we muck out the barn, lay down hay and goat poop, cover it, and we make permanent beds, so we're like really layering in the compost. You can kind of see where it's wavy here, where the beds are. Like you can really get your arm in all the way up to your elbow. It's really great.
Wow.
Fluffy, or you know, worms and life everywhere. But we grow a lot of passion flower, or passion fruit is like one of our biggest things, just because it took over, and with the tunnel it ripens here. We'll get like 500 or more fruits. I just don't understand how people would make a living farming out here. Like I could see if you were near Charlottesville or DC or something. I hope what I'm saying isn't discouraging, like, oh, we're just out here trying to make things pretty with our free time, right. Compared to people who are like, I really need to like support my family doing this. I know that has a different feel to it.
Yeah, so we're in the New River Valley watershed here, but this valley is unique that this is where the Eastern Continental Divide is. So it's just like a little ways up the road where the watershed spreads, and so then you're at the headwaters of the Chesapeake with Meadow Creek that runs down to Newcastle and Craig's Creek and Catawba Creek and on in there. But on our side, our little spring is going to run into Sinking Creek, which is the creek that this valley is named for, and then yeah, it runs into the New River. But yeah, I mean, I'm a huge component of a regional kind of food system. I feel like that helps us like take control of our own destiny, I guess, as far as like our food goes. But the kind of the USDA regulations kind of limit producers on smaller scale. I think they're more set up for larger scale and encouraging more of an industrial system and less of a what we know in Virginia as a small family farm.
I think we want to grow as much of our own food for us as we can, and then share what we have extra with the community. You know?
It's like what we're seeking here is a life lived well tied to land, and what that looks like, where you're not like hating what you're doing because it's so intense, and you can really be connected with land and your community and plants and animals, because it's about like an art of living well, connected with land and not seeking like, oh, we love to travel and leave the farm, and like, what's our next chance to leave? But having everything that you need and love right here, so you never really have a desire to be many other places.